more good. Thirsty? Drink better.
In today's episode of This Tastes Good, I wanted to reach for something that feels as comforting and as familiar as an old friend, but one also that feels timely because they are, of course, rolling out their beautiful new branding. And I'm talking about none other than my dear old friend, the GlenDronach. Now, this is a storied whiskey as far as I'm concerned. Of course, it's famous for its sherry butts. It's famous for the big Oloroso, the big PX. So we know always that this is going to give us character of big fruit and that earthy, robust nature of, what is actually quite a heavy Highland spirit. And it's tucked away there in the valley, and it's certainly seen its highs and its lows. But anytime a familiar label goes away, it's a great reminder for me of why there's really no such thing as a perma-shelf, because distillery character remains the same, but the expressions are always changing. So while I know that the new labeling and the new storytelling is going to continue to evolve that GlenDronach story that I love so much, I have a little fondness for this label. And so into the glass with me, let's go. On the nose, it's the earthy dustiness of the spirit that flows through immediately on the nose, which is one of the reasons why I love this whiskey so. It's the standard release, the 12-year-old, and worth celebrating because it is just so spectacular. And when you think about everything that this distillery's been through, purchases and sales and fires and rebuilding and mothballing, and then, eventually a sale before it landed in the hands of Brown-Forman. And now, of course, the spirit itself sits in the very careful, masterful hands of Rachel Barry. It's just testament to the time and to the ruggedness of how Scotch evolves over time, and one of the reasons why it is so iconic. So on the nose, big dust. There's an earthiness there. There's also hints of cocoa, hints of walnut skin, some of my favorite tasting notes. In fact, some of the first times I ever really came to grips with the idea of what does fig taste like? What does cocoa nib taste like? What's the difference between, dark, dry cherries and currants, and how do those different fruits express themselves, was in the GlenDronach. And so in this nose, lots of richness, lots of oiliness. There's also a touch of varnish going on for me. And that's all just in the nose before we even dive in. This is again another example where to be able to pick something up from the bottle, enjoy it just as it is, it's a great argument for why actually a reasonable ABV, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And this sitting at that very pretty 43%. On the palate now, it opens up with that sweet baked fruit. It's almost as if somebody has taken a pear, poached it, and then condensed it into a jelly. That's the sweetness of orchard fruit that exists there. But then as you bite further into the tart or the pastry, the pie, there on the edges, hello raisin, hello fig, hello different characteristics starting to come and play around the edges. Citrus peel and marmalade, toffee, touches of butterscotch. As it starts to emerge and show itself in texture, it's silky, it's got velvetyness to it, but underneath that robust little prickle continues to say, hello, I'm here. And it's the backbone of the distillate that I think always stands up so well and makes this so enjoyable. It's an easy recommend for me, a Highland style whiskey in big sherry cask. What's not to love? It's iconic in what we know. It's as you go in for the second and the third sips that it starts to really show its character and how many layers there are. There's cocoa, there's touch of ground coffee bean, there's elements of flaky pastry and biscuit, but again, the sweetness of fruit just continues to build and build and build. And then it lingers, and it's warm, and it's pleasing, and it's lovely, and it is like sitting in the lounge room of a familiar friend where you can just immediately relax. You don't have to work too hard, and that's one of the beauties of this whiskey and one of the reasons why I love it so. And as we continue this series of This Tastes Good, one of the things I wanted to do was showcase and remind us that a whiskey like this can just be so elegant, so precise, so full of its own personality that it doesn't need to be unpacked. It doesn't need scrupulous dissection. You can simply enjoy it for what it is, a beautiful open shop window to what the GlenDronach spirit has always been. Heavy, robust, as you need to be hidden away in the valley, with plenty of sweetness, plenty of oak characteristic, and lots to linger and build on. It's a whiskey that unfolds over time and I think is worth every drop and every moment that you spend with it.